Hey guys, let's finish up our pronouns lessons here with our last set of notes, this time on intensive and reflexive pronouns. It's the last one. Now, intensive and reflexive pronouns, the standard for this is weird. It only talks about intensive pronouns, but I find that odd because of the two, I think intensive pronouns are used less. They're used less often than reflexive pronouns. So we're going to talk about both. And they're not really all that difficult because they're pronouns that end in self or selves. Like, if you can find the word in the sentence that ends with self or selves, you're going to be fine on this one. They refer back to the noun or another pronoun in the sentence. Examples: myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, ourselves, yourselves, themselves. Okay? They self and they selves is not a thing. Some of us have like some not so great grammar, and so you maybe say if reflexive or intensive pronouns that aren't a thing. But any pronoun that ends in self or selves is going to either be reflexive or intensive. For the test, I'm not looking for you to identify which is which. Your activity that you're going to do may kind of ask you to do that, but I'm not really all that concerned with it, as long as you can identify that it's one of those pronouns, that it's a pronoun and it's either reflexive or intensive. Reflexive pronouns is an object pronoun that refers back to the subject and is important for the meaning of the sentence. If you leave the pronoun out, it won't be clear. So Jake was mad at himself for dropping the ball during the game. If it's a reflexive pronoun, if you take the word out, the sentence doesn't make sense anymore. Jake was mad at for dropping the ball during the game. That doesn't make sense. You need that word, himself, to finish the sentence. Intensive pronouns are used to kind of emphasize or intensify the noun, and if you take it out, the sentence still makes sense. Example: I myself thought it wasn't his fault. His teammates themselves agreed. So you can take out myself there. I thought it wasn't his fault. And the sentence still makes sense. His teammates agreed. You can take out themselves and it still makes sense. Like I said, intensive pronouns, we really don't talk like that much. Maybe some people do, and that's fine. But like at 6th grade level, like you don't talk like that very often, if ever. So I kind of feel weird teaching just intensive pronouns when really you use reflexive more often. So that's why we're doing both. But the difference here is that if you can take that pronoun out, it's intensive. If you can't, it's reflexive. So on our guided practice, it says cross out the incorrect pronoun or pronouns in each sentence and write the correct form above the incorrect one. If you're doing this on paper, you can cross it out and you can fix it right there on your paper. For those of us who are doing it on the computer, we're just going to erase and type the right one in. So number 1, my family and myself were excited to see my brother's first ball game. So the incorrect pronoun here, my family and myself, doesn't make sense. It should be instead what? It should be my family and I were excited to see my brother's first ball game. The directions aren't clear. You don't have to use an intensive or reflexive pronoun. It can be any pronoun. He itself was nervous about how he would play. Okay? He, not itself, he himself was nervous about how he would play. Dad drove us to the field at 1, although the game themselves did not start until 2. Well, the game themselves doesn't make sense. It should instead be what? The game itself didn't start until 2. Himself and I themselves found themselves good seats in the bleachers. That doesn't make sense. It should be, instead of himself, it should be he and I found, instead of themselves, it should be ourselves good seats in the bleachers. My 2 sisters went to buy popcorn for herself. Doesn't make sense because we're talking about 2 sisters here. So we shouldn't say herself, we should say they went to buy popcorn for themselves. Myself asked them to bring some for Dad and me. Not myself asked, it should be I asked them to bring some back for Dad and me. Now, you may be saying, but this isn't right. Dad and me's not right. In this case, it is. Because remember what we talked about back when we did subject and object pronouns. If you take that first part away, if you take the dad and away, it should still make sense. I asked them to bring some for me. You wouldn't say, I asked them to bring some for I. That doesn't make sense. And number 7, when they returned, Dad told them, you'll fill yourself with popcorn and miss dinner. Now, this sounds like it should be right, but it's not because we shifted from plural to singular. We use the word they here, and that means that there's more than one. So we can't use yourself because we're talking about more than one person, and yourself is only one. So instead, we need to say, you'll fill yourselves with popcorn and miss dinner. So we need to make sure we're being careful with that. All right. For this section here, there's 2 sections for the guided practice on this side. I'm going to do the same thing we've been doing. I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try it on your own. The first 3 questions says, which pronoun should replace the underlined pronoun to make the sentence correct? So you're going to fix the underlined pronoun. Okay. The second section says, for numbers 4 and 5, which revision uses a reflexive or intensive pronoun correctly? So you need to read through each of the options and figure out which one uses it correctly. Go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own. Alright, so let's go through these. Number 1, when the team lost the game, the players blamed ourselves. No, the players blamed themselves. The pitcher itself said that he had not pitched his best game. The pitcher himself said he had not pitched his best game. Alonzo and myself agreed that the other team had simply played better. Alonzo and I agreed that the other team simply played better. Okay, number 4. Mayor Ramirez is a great fan and attends every single game. Okay, herself, Mayor Ramirez, no. Mayor Ramirez themselves, no. Mayor Ramirez is a great fan itself, no. Mayor Ramirez herself is a great fan and attends every single game. That's the only one that actually makes sense. Even though we don't know Mayor Ramirez's gender, we can guess, since this is the only one that makes sense, that it has to be the one that's right. Number 5. She told the winning team, all of you should be proud of yourself. Okay. She told the winning team, all of yourselves. No. She told the winning team, all of you should be proud of themselves. No. She told the winning team, all of you should be proud of yourselves. Maybe. Let's check the last one. She told the winning team, all of you should be proud of you. No. So C has to be the right answer for this one. All right, guys, that is it. Hopefully, if you have any questions, make sure you ask. Your worksheet tomorrow will kind of be the same sort of thing, asking you to identify the correct pronouns in the sentence, or maybe do some corrections. That is it. Good luck. I will see you guys all later.